I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Voigt,
Yes.
Zuber,
Yes.
Bruner,
Yes.
Farnham,
Here.
Helsley,
Yes.
Janice,
Here.
Patrick.
Number 4, minutes of the March 13th meeting. Questions, comments, corrections?
I move that we approve.
A motion by Mr. Helsley. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Janice. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Number 5, minutes of the March 5th and March 27th special meetings. Questions, comments, corrections? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve as presented.
I'll motion.
Motion by Mr. Helsley. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Zuber. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Number 6, claims against the county.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Janice,
Second. Got that Dan.
second by Mr. Bruner. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Number 7, county board member claims.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Zuber,
Second.
second by Mr. Helsley. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Number 8, public session. Anybody have any comments?
I do, Mr. Patrick. Mr. Janice, you the chairman of the airport board?
Airport Committee of the County Board.
Okay, were you aware of the motion that was going to be made to appoint Donna Bennett to the airport board prior to the meeting last night?
Chairman, you mean?
To the chairmanship? Were you aware of that before the meeting? How about you, Mr. Helsley?
Well, I don't have any comment on that.
I didn't think so. Some of the reports we got that it was going to happen before it happened was just a fluke, is that right? How is it when Jake Payne was the chairman of the airport board, he's told he can't vote except to break a tie? And now you guys passed a resolution to let the chairman vote. What changed? No comment? I think what you people did at the airport last night is based on pure evil.
I can answer that. It was because people said that they should be able to vote. It was brought up at the study session, and we decided that if the committee of the airport decided that the chairman could vote, they would change it to where they could vote.
Okay?
In the past, they weren't voting.
And I appreciate your response, and I concur with that. I would also concur that the chairman of this board is supposed to vote too. I think what the people did at the airport last night is based on pure evil. Mr. Janice, I believe you allowed your hatred for Mr. Bogue because of his continual reference about breastfeeding to directly influence your position against RSB Aviation, and that is wrong, sir. You've expressed that position to enough people, it's public knowledge, and it clearly reflects on your lack of integrity in doing what is in the best interest of the county and clearly reflects negatively on you. You knew a blind ballot was illegal because the AG proved that with the 911 board, but for some stupid reason you think it's okay to do the very same thing at the airport. What makes you think it's okay for the 911 board, but it's not okay for the 911 board, but it's okay for the airport board? Anybody?
Yeah, Augie said we could do it.
Augie said you could do it.
That's not what he said.
That's what I was told.
Is Augie your legal counsel?
No, he's not.
Okay. Have you read the Open Meetings Act?
Yes.
You have. You have your certification and training.
No.
You have 90 days to comply with that in accordance with the law. If you read that, you would realize you can't do blind ballots. I've not seen the recusal letter from Mr. Patrick, so I don't know what specific language is in it, but it's safe to assume, based on the resolutions passed last week, that he's made the decision to not vote on highway-related matters as outlined in the resolution. Is that correct? No comment? Okay?
This is for you to comment, not me.
That being the case, Mr. Griffin, is it asking too much to ensure the records reflect he has recused himself when a vote tally is taken on those matters? For example, if a measure passes with 4 yeas and 2 nays, the record should also reflect Mr. Patrick's recusal. I reference that because the OMA specifically outlines vote tallies shall be recorded. That means everybody's vote. I know there's been claim by Mr. Patrick specifically at the highway meeting he doesn't vote unless there's a tie. Are you still of that position, Mr. Patrick?
We're listening to your comments.
All right, no comment. Well, that's what you emphasized at the last meeting. Well, sir, that is incorrect. It doesn't conform to law, and it doesn't conform to Robert's Rules of Order. Now, this board, the first board of action that you took was to accept and adopt Robert's Rules of Order, correct? No comment again. There's only one circumstance in the county code. You don't recall? Very first meeting, you guys adopted Robert's Rules of Order.
Yes, we do.
Yes, you did. The county code, the only exception that a chairman cannot vote in counties over 450,000 populations and under 3 million population, the chairman shall be elected as chairman without having been first elected to the county board. Such chairman shall not vote on any question except to break a tie. That's silent. If there's no outline anywhere that says that's the case, Mr. Patrick. I know for a fact the county board adopted Robert's Rules of Order. Safe to assume everybody here's read Robert's Rules of Order. Has anybody not read it?
I haven't.
You haven't? Would you normally adopt things you're not familiar with or haven't read?
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Yeah, you did. You voted for 3 of his paychecks when he's sitting up there as the chairman. Is it true the president can vote only to break a tie, right out of Robert's Rules of Order? No, it is not true that the president can vote only to break a tie. If the president is a member of the voting body, he or she has exactly the same rights and privileges as all other members have, including the right to make motions, to speak in debate, and to vote on all questions. It's not just to break a tie. I request that your recusal, if that's what you're calling it, or refusal to vote or whatever it is, be recorded in the record in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, and I don't think that's asking too much. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
This is pretty much a rehash of last night, so those of you that were there will be familiar. I talked about attending Airport Advisory Board meetings that occurred a year ago and then further back. And Rusty came home one night and said, you know, Dad, there wasn't anybody at the Airport Advisory Board meeting. And I did say to him, he was puzzled, he didn't know why. So, but I thought at the time, the reason that happened was because people didn't know or didn't care, or they approved of the action that was taken by the Airport Advisory Board. The last year or so, people are better informed. Now they know, now they care, and now they don't approve of what's going on at the airport. Issues that occurred over the last 12 months. Things that were brought up by the airport manager. The issue about breastfeeding. Yes, there was a meeting, and yes, it was said, and now the entire board says it wasn't. That isn't true. There's even a video clip that Jimmy Wells was interviewed by a TV station that can clear that matter up. I didn't realize that, but I did offer to take a polygraph test to Chris Patrick or Jimmy Wells, and so far they don't want to do that. Other things up there, Jimmy canceled the lease after I came to a county board meeting. He blocked an airport hangar door with a snow plow to prevent Rusty's customer's plane from leaving. He got together and concocted a plan to lock Rusty out of the airport on January 1st, 2013. Jimmy hasn't paid rent for 5 years for his airplane he kept in the main hangar, which is exactly next door to, or in the same room that Rusty had his business where he was paying rent. Jimmy doesn't collect rent from Rusty. The last 6 months, he's refused to take $700 a month in receipts. Jimmy doesn't keep records or contracts current. Documents at the airport date back to 2008. The amounts that people are supposed to pay for rent are not current, so there's really no way to tell if the county's getting all their money or how the money's being handled. Jimmy hides his financial records, and this goes back to the CD discussions and et cetera. He also refuses FOIA requests, he doesn't participate like a professional should. Now, the point of reading this list is that the voters aren't buying what you're selling. The voters have lost confidence in both the Airport Advisory Board and the County Board. How do you explain to the guy on the street that has to pay his rent at the end of a month that the airport manager won't accept rent? Now, the thing about this is, any one of those items would have caused an investigation, would have caused a typical county board to say, hey, wait a second, that doesn't make sense. That hasn't happened. It's been going on for 6 months. It hasn't happened. So the point here is that you folks can say what you want to say amongst yourself. If you only talk to each other, that's all you're going to get is feedback from each other. But I have been contacted by a great number of people, and they're not happy with what's going on here. I think Jeff Floyd had it right in the meeting that I recently attended. He said that he was concerned about public opinion. I think that's a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
A month or so ago, maybe 2 months now, or maybe longer, there was a request for a copy of a CD that was gifted to the airport that became public property the second it was gifted. And when Mr. Patrick and Mr. Wells put their own personal names on the CD did exist. It still does exist in a cached form, although Mr. Patrick disagrees. He claims it doesn't exist now that it's cached. We still don't know how much it was and where it went. We need to get the answer. And a couple other items. Mr. Wells has personally gained monetarily from his position at the airport by converting some of the telephone long-distance calls to a multi-level marketing company that he was operating at the time. He still receives packages from another multi-level marketing company. Lisa Gill still receives packages from a multi-level marketing company. All of those violate the county employee manual or code or whatever you want to call it. And Mr. Patrick benefited financially by selling concrete while he was a member of that board out there. Jake Payne benefited by getting paid to do repair work while he was a member of that board out there. When you guys going to ask any questions? You're just going to let everybody get by with breaking the law, violate the public trust, and you don't give a damn. It's ridiculous.
I would rather you not use profanity in this meeting. If you do it again, I'm going to ask you to leave.
Damn is protected speech.
Once more, and I'm going to ask you to leave.
So you're restricting my First Amendment rights?
Absolutely not. I'm restricting the language you're using.
That is protected language.
You
under
heard
the
what I
First
said.
Amendment. So you're restricting my rights to free speech.
You heard what I said.
I take it that was restricting my rights to free speech.
You heard what I said.
So, with that being said, I'll conclude my conversations and we'll deal with that later.
Anybody else?
My name's Billy Abel. I have a couple questions about last night's meeting. Dan, I know you wanted to present the new lease contract to the board today. I had a question for you guys, Mike, Ben, Dan, last night. Did you guys decide to do that today? I cannot remember. To present that today?
Yeah.
I would like to, yes.
No, I don't think they actually decided to present it today, though. I believe it was Mr. Patrick that asked you guys to Get the show on the road, hurry up, we want this done. Why has it not been today? New business contract? I'm just asking, I really want an answer, guys.
You wasn't at the meeting?
I was, but I don't
If you was
remember.
at the meeting, you would know we made a motion to the fact that we was not going to continue with that, and
But why is that? What was the motion for? Something about no commercial operations on a main hangar? Is that right? What's that got to do with the business contract whatsoever?
I think you was asking about what the motion was.
Yeah, the motion was, okay, so why do we not have a business contract presented today? Has nothing to do with the,
Business contract was the business contract for the business that would come into the airport.
correct. Yeah, it was supposed to be
wasn't
presented
specifically
today.
for any business, but
Correct.
because of the motion made last night, then the business contract that three of us worked on for probably 15 and 20 hours is no longer acceptable in terms of some of the people that voted on it.
But
Which
why?
I disagree with, but
What-
I'm
What
just a minority.
constitutes, my question is, the motion yesterday was about the commercial use of the main hangar. What if we wanted to do something on airport property? We still want a business contract or the possibility of it. Why is it not here tonight, today? He asked you guys to do that and have present it. There's no excuse for that. And I know, Dan, you tried to do that multiple times, to present it to Mark Isif and to this county, to county board. There's no excuse. There is no excuse for this business contract to not be here today.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I attended the meeting last night, and had I had the opportunity that had been last week, I would have had time to prepare an editorial for the paper. So you're going to get something that's off the cuff, and public speaking is not my forte, so bear with me. At the meeting last night, and Mr. Jennis will report, I'm sure, on what happened. There was a motion to decide that the airport no longer wants a commercial operation in the main hangar and to stop work on the business lease. The position I would have taken in an editorial is that you need to reject that decision. The Airport Advisory Board was charged by this body in January to create a business lease. Simply to say we're going to stop does not meet that requirement. Therefore, if I were sitting on this board, I would then also move to send it back to the advisory board, tell them to finish working on the lease to overcome any impasse that may exist. Secondly, that during that time frame while you're working on it, you will retain Vogue Aviation in its present location, no efforts to move it out until this is all resolved. And third, you would then instruct Mr. Wells to collect the back rent and future rents as they come due, because when this board terminated the lease, you created a month-to-month situation for Vogue Aviation with the airport. You're not meeting your end. That would be the position I would take as an editorial writer for the paper, and it may still appear depending on what happens here today. Thank you.
Anybody else? If not, we will move forward. Number 9. A request for the Edgar County Farm Bureau courthouse property for farmers market.
Sarah Reed is here.
Oh, Sarah, okay.
Sarah?
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to be on your agenda. I'm Sarah Reedy, and I'm the manager of the Edgar County Farm Bureau. And I've come to you this morning on behalf of the Farm Bureau. I would like to take this time to ask your permission as the county board for us to be able to use and host the 2013 Farmers Market on the north side of the square as it has been held in the past. The market will be held every Saturday from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. starting June 1st and running through September 21st. The farmers market is a great opportunity for local farmers to market their produce within the community, and it's an opportunity for the community to produce locally grown produce, meat, and baked goods. The majority of the fees that we as the Farm Bureau are going to charge the different vendors will be used for advertising. The different advertising modes that we will use are the newspaper, radio, Facebook, Twitter, our Farm Bureau papers, both Farm Week and Farm Talk. There will be signage around the courthouse if you allow us to put signs in the courthouse yard. Entrances into the city of Paris, as well as direct mailings out to the county. If there is any type of profit associated with this, we will use the remaining excess dollars to help fund school gardening programs through the Ag in the Classroom program, where we reach about 2,000 students a month. We would ask for your support in this venture, and we look forward to working together with you on this opportunity for the residents of Edgar County. Are there any questions?
What electricity, did you guys use electricity in the past?
We did. We actually had, I believe his name's Mr. Wilson, is that right? Use the box out in between, what I call it, the halfway point. Right straight out. I guess that's what you call it. I don't know what your technical term is, but yes, we do have one vendor that does need electricity, and sometimes when Pop's Kettle Corn comes, they also need it, but there's enough electricity in that one box that they both can pull off of.
Was there any charge for that last year?
No, we charged a straight fee for everybody.
Okay. But the county didn't charge the Farm Bureau or anybody
No.
for that? Okay.
No.
I make a motion that we give them a request to use the property.
Got a motion by Mr. Farner, seconded by Mr. Janice. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Next item on the agenda, presentation by Sandy Perry from DBH regarding draft for 2012.
Good morning. I'm not Sandy, I'm Bob. I'm going to start, then I'm going to turn over to Sandy. We are going to provide the board with a draft of the final audit report. And the reason it's in draft format and not final are a couple of things. One is we are waiting on our final responses from the attorneys. Until we get those, we're not really sure that we have all of the appropriate disclosures. And then I simply want to make one final pass through the entire report, just for the cosmetics. And finally, we want to give Don and Augie a chance to look at the draft before we sign off and finalize it. So for that reason, this is draft format. If anything changes at this point, it would simply be cosmetics, format, that kind of thing. Our work is substantially complete. I do not expect any changes in the numbers at this point. There's nothing left for us to do that would affect the numbers. So that's kind of where we're at. And that's why it's in draft format right now. Everybody get a copy now? Okay. I'm going to give you a few general comments about the audit process in general and how, and then Sandy will give you a quick overview of the financials. Oh, by the way, I want to introduce who's here with me. Sandy Perry, who you met when we met in January. Sandy was very helpful on the engagement. We also have Crystal Kinnear. Crystal has joined the firm 2 or 3 months ago as a manager and has been instrumental in pulling things together this year. So brought them along to help me out. First thing I would like to report is the audit itself went very smoothly. From our perspective, we're happy with the way the audit went. Preparation was good. When we met in January, we talked about some things that we'd like your folks to have ready for us before we arrive. That went very well. We got what we asked for, had no delays in getting information, no problems getting information, so we were quite pleased with that. Full cooperation, assistance from your staff when we asked for it, so the audit went smoothly in that regard. As far as the results, when you look at pages 1 and 2 in the report, That's our opinion on your financial statements. That's a standard clean opinion, which is what you want as a result of the audit. We also do some work on compliance with your federal grant requirements. We have no problems to report in relation to internal control and compliance. We also have issued a separate letter on internal control with no major issues there, and Sandy will talk about that in a few minutes. And some other general audit communications. So that's kind of a quick overview of where we're at and how the audit has gone. Are there any questions on that before I'll turn it over to Sandy to take a quick look at the report? Okay, Sandy?
Morning.
Welcome.
Audit adjustments, we made some adjustments. Most of those items that we recorded were just basically taking your cash basis financial statements to modified cash basis financial statements that are required by GASB 34. Some of those items that make those modified cash statements are the recording of capital assets and any long-term debt that the county holds. If you turn to page 10 of the draft audit report, you'll see the statement of net assets. The first column represents the primary governmental activities, and then there is a component unit of the ESTSB there with the total net assets of the primary government of around $23 million. And the component unit has net assets of around $1 million. Page 11, statement of activities, modified cash basis, has expenditures, charges for services, any grant revenues there on the top, and it's broken out by governmental activities by general control, public safety, highways and bridges, corrections, etc. Then it has the component unit, and then down in the middle section there it has your revenues, your general revenues, which mostly is made up of property taxes.
Can you help me out just a minute?
Sure.
You probably said this, Mr. Morris, for a second. What's the component unit for ETSB about?
The 911.
The 911 board, that is actually characterized as a component unit. There's additional detail of how you characterize that in the notes to the financial statements that we'll go over in a little bit here. So the total change in net assets was an increase of around $460,000 this year for just the primary government, which again gives you around $23 million of net assets at the end of the year. Page 12 has all your cash basis statements for the governmental funds. You have your general fund, your highway, your county motor fuel tax, your board of health, and then other non-major governmental funds. So you have your four major funds, and then all other funds are combined as other governmental funds. And that total assets for the governmental funds is around $7.8 million. You see that on page 12. Do you have any questions?
You don't consider county property an asset, you're not figuring out a value.
Yes, I mean there are certain assets that are as fixed assets. Back on page 10, the statement of net assets, you have land of $400,000 recorded and capital assets, net of depreciation around $16.4 million.
That's everything.
That's everything that you have recorded on the books, yes.
Okay.
Essentially what you're looking at, I'm sorry, the page 10 is sort of the modified cash basis, which includes those assets. Page 12, which we were just looking at with the $7.8 million total, that's the cash basis one, which does not include those fixed assets. And And then if you look at page 13, it sort of reconciles between those two numbers. And that, so page 13 sort of walks you from page 12 to page 10.
What determines the cash value of properties?
Those properties, they're valued at their original cost basis,
Okay.
net of depreciation.
Sandy, on the capital assets on page 10, that jurisdictional transfer of the Clinton Road, that's why that, is it in the capital asset part of it? Remember there was a transfer of 8 million. They assigned, it really skewed our numbers here when we got that. It jumped up our assets here a year or two ago. That's where it is, isn't it, in that 16 million?
Yes.
Because it has to be, because I know we don't have 16 million in what I would call tangible assets. That's 8 million of that is the road, I think, isn't it? Or infrastructure. Okay, thank you.
Again, what Chris was saying, on page 13, we basically take your governmental fund balance on cash basis and add in those capital assets and any long-term debt that you have on the books. And you do have some general bonds and there's a general bond and a loan that you have on your books at the end of the year. Again, then we'll go over that in the and then footnotes. The other financial statements I'm not going to review, but those are the main financial statements of the county. Do you have any questions on those? Your financial, your notes to your financial statements, basically note 1 goes over the summary of the reporting entity of the county and any significant accounting policies that the county has. Note 2 goes over your cash and certificate deposits that you have on hand at the end of the year. Note 3 goes over the property taxes that were levied and when those were paid.
Page you want to see?
Oh, I'm sorry, page 28. Page 28. Page 29 has the schedule of capital assets. Basically, it has it broken out by land, construction and process, buildings, equipment, infrastructure, less any accumulated depreciation for items that can be depreciated. Also has the allocation of depreciation expense there at the bottom of page 29. Page 30 has any capital assets that are relates to the 911 fund. Note 5 is a summary of all the leases that the county is involved in, and the minimum lease payments for the next 5 years. They're on page 31. Page 32 has any is your note on long-term debt for the debt service loan that was made in 2010, along with the general obligation bond, also that was made in 2010. And it has what is due in the current year, the next fiscal year, and then what is left outstanding after that. Note 7 on the bottom of page 32 has any deficient fund balances, any fund balances that have a negative balance at the end of the year. Note 33, or note 8 on page 33 goes over your required disclosure of any defined pension funds or pension plans that are with the Illinois Municipality Retirement Fund. And those go from page 33 through 36. Page 37 has, note 9 has any expenditures over appropriations. Note 10 has your risk management note, and note 11 has any transfers that were made from various funds. Note 12 has any contingencies that the county may have, and note 13 and 14 basically go over any subsequent events or any insurance recovery items that the county may have received in the current year. The financial statements, or the notes to the financial statements, while in fundamental content are the same as last year. If you would look at last year's notes, it will look cosmetically different, and the order may be different from the ones that we presented or that you had in your notes last year. So basically, they're the same. They just may have added clarification or added clarification so that the readers can understand the financial statements more clearly, and their order may have changed. If you have any questions, I try not to go over in too much detail. Just wanted to give a brief outline of the audit report.
We might point out that what's in the report after the footnotes are lots and lots of detailed statements for individual funds that get rolled up into more summary up in the front.
Yeah, there's a lot of schedules there in the back by each fund.
What are the two most important pages for us to look at?
Page 1 and 2.
That's way too easy. Those don't have any numbers on them.
You know, I think from